point of view, right? Obviously, there's a degree to which we're all frustrated by this type of polemic, that they're engaging in their review, that Andrew Wilson, Jay Dyer are engaging in their reviews. But we're all very open to discussing these things with people who disagree with us, because it's the only way that we can find out if we're wrong, the only way for us to improve our views if we are wrong about something.
Bucko. 48 out of 50. CJD, $20. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. Here's my symbol of appreciation. My symbol, yeah. It's just a symbol. Wrongful Rage, $10. Message deleted, though. Thank you so much. Apparently, Rip is in a mood.
There's no...
$5 comes in from Vagine. Vagine, are you still here?
Jimbob, I have a message from a viewer who is on the road driving to Montana. FDA announced this morning that the event is 100% sold out.
Nice.
God bless.
Nice. I hope you all have fun in Montana. Couldn't make it. 125 comes in. Here is some fake money. Thank you for that. I don't even know. What is that? Jord, what is that symbol?
Of course, there's like a blood sport debate type thing that a lot of people, and you've got to maybe be able to participate with that if you're going to be engaging with people who are very polemical. But I think for all of us, we also have exhibited clearly an interest and ability to engage in these topics, and that we will have respectful conversations with people who disagree. And I think that these guys are just not interested in that, but instead...
What do you mean we've had that? I've had that with you. Of course, we're interested in that. We will match your energy, dude. This is a guy talking who debated me and literally couldn't control his emotions. He took off his shirt during a debate with me to engage with something in the chat. He couldn't help it. His pride took him over, and he literally took his shirt off to show his muscles to the chat.
Instead, they're here kind of like laughing at your attempts to reach...
We are laughing at your attempts because you guys don't have a coherent worldview, Nathan. You, Danny, whoever else is on the thing with you. You guys have a shit worldview. You don't even have a system that you could critique another view from. It's literally preferences. You have no teleology of why we ought to come to true beliefs, hold true beliefs. You have no reason. You have no justification for rights or human dignity. Of course we're going to laugh at you, dude.
Reach out to them, laughing at the fact that they have this power to not give you a platform, and then, and then they're about to go on and say a few of the things that they're about to go on and say, right? It's all about kind of bullying, right? Which is very annoying.
Oh, bullying. Why don't you stop crying, dude?
Stop whining.
So why don't you cry harder, Nathan?
Oh, so we're
Have you considered crying really hard?
gonna play 30 seconds more? Okay.
Guy, a kid and all that. And then people...
I want to see the comments on this. People being like, you guys are... Comments are just as awful and terrible.
People were saying you're calling him a kid, but he's actually a 32-year-old philosophy teacher.
30? What? That Danny one?
Yeah.
He's 32 and a philosophy teacher?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that sucks, man.
That made it even worse for me. Because I call him kid because he clearly acts like and looks like and sounds like a kid.
Yeah, that's how he is, and when he's teaching. Well, that's embarrassing.
This gets them. Look how mad Nathan is. I swear, Nathan has got some type of brains in his freezer. I swear.
Really terrible.
I mean, Nathan looks like he's always about to just go for a run at 1 a.m. before the news comes on the screen hours later. You know what I mean?
Apparently, he's a teacher and he's 32. What the heck? I don't know, man. I don't know if anyone...
Yeah, so they're shocked, right? I mean...
Beef Sleazy says, I'm Catholic. I have some interest in Orthodoxy, but my Lutheran girlfriend is somewhat open to Catholicism. You just start going, dude, Beef Sleazy. You just start going to an Orthodox parish. You just start going. Your girlfriend will either follow you or not. So there's no convincing. You know what I mean? It's not about convincing. There might be an element of that, Beef Sleazy, but my recommendation is just start going to Orthodoxy and be like, I'm interested in this. And she's all, oh, you're interested in that? You're like, yeah. She's like, okay, so it seems like you're really interested in that. You're like, I am. And then you just keep going. And then you love it. And then she loves that you love it. And then she loves you because you love God. And then she follows you because you follow God. And then you guys get married in the church. And then you have 4 children. And then you name one of them after me.
I get the age thing, but it doesn't make a difference in there. And
what kind of helium do you use, Danny? Where do you order it from? I hear there's shortages.
and their demeanor.
500 watching, 250 likes. Yeah, what is going on? What the heck? I'll just sit here until you guys like me. $500 watching, only 250 likes.
In fact, I don't even know where the clips are, but they start saying they feel sorry for my students, right?
I do. I feel sorry, but that's not just you, Danny. I feel sorry for anyone who paid for college at this point, so don't take it personally.
That, how did the society get in a way where, like, I'm teaching anyone, right?
I mean, what are you teaching them, honestly? There's no skill. They're not going to be able to feed their family. They're not going to be able to get a job, Danny. You should be the first to know the only thing you can do with the degree that you're teaching is take your job as a teacher so that you can teach more people to learn a thing that's skillless that won't give them a job unless they take yours. Jeff Klein, $10. Danny is such a soy.
When they don't know anything as
he's honestly, I've engaged with almost all of these atheists, and Danny, even though I think his arguments and counters suck, he like, at least his live stream, he tries to understand a view. He'll like try to understand a view. I thought Danny was running for senior class president.
See, but anybody can we continue or no?
Yeah. Feel free to, if there's a point you want to jump to, then where you try to
so let's go to 121.
Time code, Jules.
Just let me know if y'all seen something.
You could use red bar rewind.
And I just want to say as well, like,
you want to say something, Nathan? You want to give a little? Should I play the violin music? Let's hear what you have to say. Let's do the therapy talk.
In terms of, I feel that we are not doing that with them, right? Like, we're not saying, oh look, here's this thing about David Wood's background or how he looks or how Apostate Prophet looks. Therefore, don't listen to these guys. Therefore, what they have to say is wrong.
No, you actually call people fascists without justification, and you basically do a broad brush approach to then well poisoning and saying someone's a fascist, and therefore you don't have to engage with their actual arguments or positions individually, Nathan. It's actually worse. Us calling you guys soy boys is rhetorical. It's an addition to your shitty arguments, being able to argue against your shitty arguments. You just call people fascists.
Therefore, they're evil.
If Danny's 32, then I'm the Pope.
People or something, if we are going to criticize them morally, it's going to be based off of the content of what they say or the presentation, all these actions of, asymmetric power dynamics and things.
Shut up, dude.
And I just want people to kind of like see that there's a big difference there, right? They're not behaving well.
And not to say that those other sort of
wow, Nathan, that's really well said. They're not behaving well. Okay, Mom. They just it's just that they're speaking out of 10 and they don't have any manners and they hold the spoon wrong at tea. You got no arguments, Nathan. You got nothing. All you got is tone policing, dude. What are you saying? Jordan, $5. Danny deleted my comments when I told him his worldview entails that being a bigot is good. If I think it's good, he wanted a VC. That's true. It all comes down to that, dude.
Systems couldn't be made.
Abby Zong in the house. What's going on, Abby?
Yeah, it's not.
All right,
I'm
we're ready?
making fun of it.
Yeah.
Come on. Let me put it this way. Pierce, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But he always acts like...
I feel like they're reviewing a review, and I'm reviewing a review of a review. This is why I hate the internet at this point. I just hate it.
I don't like that.
Like, I don't want to hear David Wood talk at all, ever. I never want to hear David Wood's voice.
I don't like the drama and everyone arguing.
Look at this childish behavior. Y'all see
Look at this childish behavior.
Is this childish?
Look at this childish behavior.
this? Like, how old is
I mean, David Wood is wearing a wig and, like, he's kind of wacky, but...
this guy? Man, must be like
Exactly.
19.
Anyway, powerful.
Getting an ought from an is.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a claim. Okay, well, you're saying atheists
No, it's an
can't
argument.
count
It's a famous
morality,
argument.
right? You're saying that
Danny's saying, what's the argument that you can't get an ought from an is?
atheists can't account for morality. So what's the argument for that?
What do you mean? If you want to prove
can't
them
get an
wrong,
ought from an is the argument back to Hume.
It looks like you don't know what an argument is. Come on, reason.
Did you just say you don't?
Yeah, and that's a claim. Yeah. So when we say the atheist can't account for or justify morality, it's a challenge to the atheist. We say the Christian can, here it is, and you could try to reject it for whatever reason, and then we're asking you to provide a model when we say, in our experience, we've not heard a presentation for a standard for morality from an atheist view, because they are often materialists, physicalists, naturalists, and they will ultimately appeal to a set of conditions or an outcome or a description of reality, which are is statements.
What an argument is?
So what Jay is saying is, he could say atheism entails materialism. You can say, and they could try to defeat that, and they could try to argue atheism doesn't, but they won't be able to justify any immaterial, transcendental things. So we could say atheism entails materialism. That itself would require an argument to be a valid premise one, or a premise one that someone would accept at least. And so if atheism entails materialism, and materialism can only deal with is claims, and you can't, if it's true, you can't get an ought from an is, then it follows that atheism can't give you morality.
Wait, yeah, okay, couple things. One, this is actually interesting.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Look at Jay.
One line of reasoning to another.
Isaiah says it's an analytical truth. Yeah, you can either disagree, you could try to disagree with it.
So before they get into their...
So he was asking Jay to bridge that atheism reduces to is statements purely.
Very, very very bad take on what just happened. They're giggling at Jay mocking me.
What's the best way to find an Orthodox church parish in my area? Tyler asked. Well, I mean, obviously Google. Just don't go to like Coptic or anything like that. Also, just go to go to the Discord. Go to the Orthodox Discord and maybe ask people so they can actually guide you. Because Google might just guide you to the word Orthodox, but that doesn't follow that you might walk into the right church. You know what I mean?
When they were criticizing me for being a child, right? The point is that they only reserve criticism for atheists that they don't like.
That's not true. They mostly debate. We debate Protestants all the time. Danny, what are you talking about, dude?
Okay.
Such a cope.
They like Jay Dyer, right? Or at least...
Oh, are they talking about these two guys?
You know, recently they
No, they talk. They spend a lot of times. Apostate Prophet and Wood do a lot of work just against Islam. I don't know what this guy's talking
video
about.
with him patching things up. I think they did have some kind of clash, but they patched things up. Now, so when Jay Dyer mocks my voice, right? It's funny and not childish. It's cool. It's...
Well, I would agree with Danny that there is an inconsistency now that they're buddies, but that's just nepotism. I mean, we're all sort of subject to that. If you patch it up with someone and they're on your team, then what you do is you join in on mocking your enemy. I mean, what's the big deal? Billy Bob, $10. Thank you. I grew up Protestant, and I always had an odd feeling for Jesus' party and the altar call. In hindsight, I realize how self-centered it was. I'm thankful to be Catholic now also. Spoon! Wait, what is Spoon? Is that from that other channel?
Sexy. It's funny, right? But if I did that, right? All right. Oh, it's childish. Oh, what is this 19-year-old teaching kids? It's just pathetic, you two. Right? Does anybody want to comment before I continue?
Just to say, that whole thing is sort of like, glass houses and throwing stones kind of thing, right? Their whole shtick here, they're dressed up. David Wood, I don't know why he's dressed like that. I don't know what the butt of the joke is, but they're just enjoying this power asymmetry, laughing at you being mocked.
Dude, you're so sociopathic, Nathan. Like, do you get loose at all? Do you tell any jokes? Do you have a beer with anybody and just shoot the shit, dude? Loosen up, bro. Jeez.
And I'm annoyed. Can you bring up maybe I'm misunderstanding you, Craig? Can you bring up Craig's comment? I'm annoyed. The Izot dilemma.
Yeah. Let's see what Greg has to say.
Yeah, the Izot dilemma is an argument, but it presupposes that atheist is a materialist. If Danny is not one, it doesn't apply. Where are you getting this?
He's kind of agreeing with you, actually. He's agreeing with you. I just said that, basically. It presupposes the atheist ends up being a materialist, which ends up being the case because they can't account for immaterial things. So they can say, well, maybe there's an immaterial reality I don't know, but I don't know is also an epistemic claim. So that's why atheism is, in fact, a worldview. It's not just a isolated position that you come up with in a vacuum. It assumes a whole slew of things, right? So Jay is correct. If you could make the argument, which you can, that atheism reduces to materialism, which it does, then you can make the argument that they have an Izot problem.
Craig, are you just making this shit up?
Hey, Jimbob, any advice of young men dealing with nihilism, feeling hopelessness? Yeah, attend Divine Liturgy. Hang out with your fellowship after Divine Liturgy. Participate in the men's groups that your Orthodox parish has. Mine has one that I'm going to start doing next week at 7 a.m. on Tuesdays. Isolate and find your gifts that God gave you and use them. Put them into action in service. Being of service is a key route to getting out of like the sort of depression loop and nihilism loop. It's nihilism and depression is like I think it's a symptom of self-service, and you'll never be fulfilled self-serving. So those are my answers to that question. It'll be in my book, my upcoming life coaching book.
Well, just to maybe address, like we already addressed this, Craig. There isn't an is-ought dilemma, right?
What?
Like
there isn't an is-ought problem?
Makes a point about a conceptual distinction between is claims and ought claims. You can't derive ought claims from is claims. If there's some further argument someone makes that is a dilemma, right, to do with atheism, then feel free to point us at us.
Yeah. We do. We say, tell me something that's immoral, and they say XYZ is immoral, and they're describing an is statement, and then when you ask them why is it immoral, they ultimately go back to the is statement. Hello? Why is it immoral? Why is it wrong to bully atheists online, Nathan? Why is it wrong for Christians to take over the government and run a Christian society from an atheist view? The best arguments that atheists can make against, say, big, scary Christian nationalists is trying to do an internal critique against Christian nationalism. That's the only hope they have, by the way. They certainly can't do it from an atheist perspective, which reduces all of your wants and moral attitudes to preferences. Well, cool. All the big, scary Christian nationalists, Nathan, Danny, and the rest of you, are consistent within your model, dude. They preferred it. That's all they have to say, bro. Duck's why. Oh, Duck. We got Duck here. Is-odd is like the bad philosophy version of God of the Gaps. It's overused and not that important. No. It's important when people make odd claims, Duck. Of course it's important. In fact, it's important even when you're debating, because there's an assumption, Duck, when you're debating that you ought be consistent and not use fallacies and not be a sophist, right? Duck, am I right? Abby Zong, 10 generous gifted memberships. Thank you, Abby. I really appreciate your donation and support over at Jortlanda here. Dux says, I don't hear is come up that much in moral philosophy. What do you don't hear the term murder is immoral in moral philosophy, Duck? You don't hear the term X is immoral because? What is wrong with you, dude? What is wrong with you? You don't deserve that beard.
To that argument, Jay did not make an argument in the form of a dilemma. He simply asserted that there is this thing called the is-or argument, and that means that all claims are inconsistent with atheism.
Yes, JB, not being a sophist is important. I didn't ask if it's important, Duck. Is there a meta-ethical position that when you debate, you ought to come to truth, that you ought to be honest? Is that a moral statement? Is that an ethical statement?
There are no premises given in favor of that.
Right, and remember,
is lying immoral, Duck, when you're being an interlocutor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say you just debate, and your whole tactic debating the atheist is insult them, make up horrible stories about them, slander them, the worst possible things, like, false police reports on them, call CBS, whatever else you can do. How is that invalid from an atheist perspective?
Can we just explain what an argument is and what premises are?
Oh my God, let's get into it. Ugh.
And what a conclusion is?
Oh yeah, let's bore the shit out of everyone. Hey, can we just bore the shit out of everyone?
No one in the history of anything.
In the dialectic, it just seems like just a silly reply.
Yeah, and he should know, maybe count, right?
I bet the beginning of this is got more juice to it. See what they got here. They got anything?
That hasn't been
Epistemic in there right at the beginning. Was that doing any work at all, or was it just, hey, let's throw a technical term in here because it sounds philosophical?
Epistemic is philosophical. It's one of the branches, you dipshit. What do you mean sounds philosophical? Epistemology is one of the aspects of a worldview inside of philosophy.
Does Jay just want to use the word epistemic because it sounds like a philosophical term?
It is a philosophical term.
Like that, epistemic doesn't have anything in particular to do with like a deductive syllogism or something.
What? How you know things has nothing to do with when you provide syllogisms? Excuse me? What? Induction? A method of deriving likely statements about knowledge has nothing to do with epistemology? Oh my gosh.
What is he doing with that? So
well, that was the other.
What? Excuse me? This is why Jay gets so frustrated, is because these atheists come in and they think they can come in and argue, let's say, a moral position, and then they don't have to account for anything epistemic. Or they think they can argue an epistemic and they don't have to justify metaphysics.
If God real, why Jimbob is firing me?
If God real, because your God is false, Vagine. You worship a cow. I eat a cow.
Thing, right? Because they often do this.
What do I think about Robert Greene? Well, I just did a short review of his stuff, and it was absurd. It was hilarious to watch an old creepy man with those round glasses try to tell a young attractive woman how he would basically get in her pants and watch her kind of just freak out on a call. That was weird. Is this the reaction of the reaction of the reaction? Yeah, it is. I'm just gonna keep going, dude.
Switch between, this is a common precept thing too, right? Well, they'll do this argument that atheism is both incompatible with certain truths, but then they'll say no, it's not.
It's not that it's incompatible. That's one way of saying it. Friction, whoever that guy is at the bottom, The argument is that atheism, whatever type of atheism you appeal to, it will fall into the category of naturalism, nihilism, epistemic nihilism, compatibilism, whatever it is, it's going to be a not God approach. We're saying the entire folder of not God positions can't account for knowledge, truth, mind, reasoning, transcendental categories, information, laws of thought. You can't account for them. We're not saying you can't use them. You can't borrow them from the party. Sure, you can use them. You can assume them, but you can't justify them under your worldview.
Incompatible with them is that you can't justify them or like know them on atheism or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. And notice how there's a dead silence. You guys know you can't.
So he might have been alluding to that.
Of course, he's Jay Dyer.
He may have been alluding to that.
He's Jay Dyer. Of course he's alluding to that. Every single position you have, if you're going to bring it to Jay Dyer, he's going to quickly parse out all the nonsense that you're spewing, and he's going to get to the root of it. And it's going to be in the form of a tag or a presupposition that you're actually making, not him. That's what the funny irony of atheists who are always like, oh, you're a presupper. No, you guys are presuppers. We admit that we presuppose something. You just presuppose it and you just never admit that you're presupposing it.
But, there's a few other problems. Just historically speaking, this was not an argument that was like the context in which he's presenting it made it seem like this was an argument that historically speaking was used to present a distinctive problem for atheists, or at least atheist materialists. That is absolutely not true. And
that is such a side argument that doesn't matter.
Yet the context made it seem like the other thing that you shouldn't let slip past you is a few times he implies that you can't say or you can't hold that things are wrong if you can't say they're objectively wrong. That's not.
He didn't say that. No, you can say things are wrong, but you can't actually argue that they're actually wrong. So you can't really say they're actually wrong. You can't argue that there's anything actually wrong, including all of the scary political landscapes, these fetishes you guys have about Christian nationalism. You can dream up the worst form of Christian nationalism in your pea-brain little atheist head. It can't, even the worst you can dream up, and I'll give you even coloring books and shit to make it real for you. It can't be wrong under atheism.
Not true. What if you're a constructivist? What if you're a relativist?
Oh, gosh.
So it's just, I don't know how long
the things these guys do to defend what they do in the dark is just, it's mind-blowing.
Clip was, but the amount of errors in that clip, it's like contemporary analytic philosophers.
This
basic logic.
Talking.
He often just goes on these kind of like detours through pseudo history.
Oh gosh, it's just meta. It's a bunch of meta garbage.